What's up, y'all? Episode 6, about to pop off here. So, what we're gonna do, just kind of outline. We're gonna talk. We're gonna let Dan, because we realize we haven't done it. We're gonna talk about Kleros, one of our major sponsors. Let Dan kind of talk about it, considering it's his and he's built it and he's doing a great job getting it out there. But let him kind of dive into what that is a little bit, and then we're gonna get into some training standard type stuff and some of the nonsense and some of the good things that are getting posted lately in the social media world, whether you reside in Twitter, Instagram, wherever that is. So, Dan, so Kleros, where the vision come from, and kind of where'd you get the initial idea?
Yeah, man. So I've done essentially every free trial platform that is in the space. Um, but I've never had a budget to be able to afford, anything, whether it was an athlete management system, a way of programming and pushing it out to athletes, a way of organizing your weight room, communicating with athletes. I've never had any kind of platform or any kind of management system to be able to make that happen. And I kind of got frustrated one day. Like, I've been using Google Sheets for years. And then one of our coaches deleted something and messed up one of the formulas. And I literally spent like an hour and a half trying to figure out, like, just diagnose, like, what happened? Like, why is this chart not showing up right now? And I don't understand it. Like, all I did was set this dude up with a tablet, and that was happened to be in the Google Sheet, and just said, like, names right here, type their time in right here for the sprint, and that was it. And it, like, I don't know what happened, but it took me forever. And so, like, that was frustrating in and of itself. But that kind of, like, one thing led to another between that, and I was like, hey, I need to build something. Like, I love these aspects of this trial. I love these aspects of this platform that I've used, but nothing has been like one platform or one place to go to for me as a coach. And so that's where Kleros kind of started. I was like, I want to build this platform for me and for me specifically. And there's a very specific vision that I want this thing to be able to do. I want it to be a true tool that I can use that fits into our training systems. I want it to be a system that I'm not fighting. I'm not, spending all this extra time trying to get the most out of it, trying to get insights out of our GPS data, or insights out of our jump data, or our maxes, or whatever I want to look at. I don't want to fight the time components of that. I want a tool that's going to assist me,
Yep.
even down to, like, how I put data in, how I organize our weight room, and post timers, and post and use things like, even down to, it got so annoying and so frustrating for me that I'm programming the workout in one platform, and then I got to go back to Google Sheets to make our cards, to, like, print out
Mhm.
our lifts for, like, hey, what percentage should the athletes be using? That stuff was so frustrating for me. So
Yep.
I wanted something to where, like, I program everything for a workout. I press one button and it prints the sheets, and exports the sheets, or it batch prints report cards for, like, how kids are doing. I wanted one platform for all of it. So I did it, and I kind of built it for me, built it out for me, and what our needs were, started using it. And then, like, some of the stuff you could see in social media. So, like, coaches were hitting me up like, hey, what are you using? Like, oh, it's my system. Like, how
Yep.
do I get that? Because that looks cool. Like, oh, so there's some interest there. And then started scaling it a little bit to where other coaches would be able to use it. Went through a couple months of beta testing, and then I'm like, oh wait, hang on, uh, there's something here. Like, there's a platform, there's a need, there's a space that this kind of fits into. So that's where it was originally born from. It was never really something that, like, hey, I'm going to monetize this and make this a way of making money, or any of that stuff. But then the name Kleros itself is Greek. Kleros means inheritance, or lot. And nothing to do really with money, not monetarily inheritance, but inheritance of what we get from a talent perspective, the gifts that we're given when it comes to like our personality traits, or who we are as people, and our ability to use those responsibly to better the community around us. And that's really what it came down to, is like I built this thing simply out of like the way that I need mm, my resources and my room to function and my athlete management system to support me, in our weight room. And if that can help somebody else, then that's what it's about, and that's what it's here for. So it's been an awesome project, man. A lot of amazing feedback early on, and way more traction than I imagined. I thought it was going to take like months before
Yeah.
people started like actually asking about it, and then now like we're 6 weeks into it being public, and we've got like 5 users.
Yeah.
So the feedback's been awesome, and then just being able to use that feedback to shape the platform itself, and like, dang, why didn't I think of that? Like that would have been, yeah, that would have been a great feature to have months ago.
Yeah.
So little things like that, man, has been awesome. And it's been a blessing to be able to talk to coaches, and really the community it's starting to build, has been a good time.
Sweet. That's wait, and it's probably a cool thing of where it's still in the building process, right? It's not like this like primed product that you're like placing out there and you're like, man, this is in. Cool part is, like you just said, you're getting feedback from coaches. You're like, crap, that's a good idea. Like, yeah, let me go to work and let me make that happen.
Yeah, even stuff is down to today. Stuttered there. That was terrible. Down to today, man, like I was talking to a coach a couple weeks ago, Pat Doyle out in Nebraska. He's
Hmm.
like, we
Yeah.
we put everything on our iPads, because it's really important for our kids to be able to see it. Our TVs, like that, yeah, we can project stuff, but like stuff gets messed up there, and I really don't want to go print out workout cards
Daddy,
and all that stuff.
can you
So
see me?
realistically, I need to be able to see stuff on an iPad. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Well, let me think about this for a little bit. Let me chew on it. Okay, cool. Well, when we export sheets, you've already made your groups. So now if I've got our groups made, then let's just take the same workout that we already wrote, and let's find a way to like project it and put it in a shape and a size that fits on an iPad screen.
Hmm.
And now you select your group from a drop down list, and it's going to pull your 1 rep max, which is already stored anyway, and the
Yep.
percentage that you already do anyway, and it's just going to project it onto the card. And now you just tap, hey, which time are we in? Oh, we're in lift one or tier A. Boom. Okay, cool. There's everybody in our group. There's our list, or there's our exercise. There's our percentage that we're using. Oh, there's the actual weight I got to load on the bar. And then here's all our accessory lifts. So like it's
Hmm.
displayed on their iPad. So little things like that I'm like, oh yeah, that's all the stuff, all the tools, all the features, everything you would need to be able to do that feature is already here. Yeah, let's make it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So little things like that have
Hmm.
been fun, and I, I don't have a coding background, but I've learned just enough to like be able to
Yeah.
function and be able to do this stuff,
Hmm.
which has been awesome. And then now actually talking to there's a guy here in the community in Cartersville that is heavily involved in our track program. He's got kids that are in our track program, and
That's
he's like,
dope.
"Hey, I am a software engineer. I really like your product. Do you need help?" I'm
Yes.
like, yes. So that part's been awesome too.
with with it still growing, with the platform still growing, and I mean, you talk a good bit about it, but like it's this like almost ever growing thing. Like there's something seemingly every week that you're like, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure this out. But as far as it goes right now, because you are a user as well, what is like day one, somebody signs up, like this is what sets Kleros apart from any of the other softwares, or like you like this product best and made your life easier, whatever that looks like.
I think number one is the way like when you're actually testing, the way that the platform inputs data and handles data. So like you select your roster, you select the test of whatever metric you want to pick, you press start testing and you go. And it shows right there athlete's name, your roster. It shows you what their previous PR is, because every kid when they're testing is like, hey, what's my PR? like, what's the best I've ever done? And so it handles all of that right there in the app for you in real time as you're entering stuff. It tells you if it was a PR, what percentage of their PR it was. It flags them for fatigue if they're performing poorly, and everywhere in between. So I would definitely say, number one, you can't mess up the formulas like a Google Sheet formula, like I shared a minute ago. And then number
Yeah.
two, just how it handles data live in real time. And if,
Mhm.
I've got a few guys that prefer, to do it the old school and write it on paper, put it in Excel, and then upload it as a CSV. So like if that's your preference, sure, it handles that too. So
Yeah.
definitely handling data at point of entry, above and beyond all the reports and all the things that you can do on the outside of it.
Yeah, love it. So if you guys have more questions, Dan does 86 onboarding calls a week, it feels like, or demo calls. So uh hit him up through any of the social medias, hit the staff meeting podcast DMs, or we can push everything that way and continue to watch this thing grow. It's been fun, even just from like when you were beta testing it into now and kind of seeing how it grows. And if your podcast partner would get a scrap together and be able to start using it, that'd probably be useful as well. So I also need to do all of that. So I'm in the same boat.
But you're also, full disclosure, like I show up whenever George tells me to, because like he handles 99% of what goes on over here. So it's not really a podcast partnership. Like you're doing the thing, I'm just like over here chilling. So show
But
up
it's
and talk about life.
yeah, and that's what we did on our 86-hour drive when we went down to Florida a few weeks ago. So it was a
Bro, it was 12. It was not that bad.
that was a long drive, especially after like me coming in from Mississippi, getting to
Uh,
you, driving down to Valdosta, and then driving down, and then coming back like all in one day. I got that was about my limit for how far I want to drive in a single day.
yeah.
I was not. I got out of the car. I'm like, I am ready to not be in a vehicle for a good while.
Yes. Yes. I don't blame you on that one. Like I drive a lot of places. I enjoy driving just because like it locks me my ADHD brain into one place and I can
Yeah,
just like sit there and go. So like even, a couple years ago when I drove out to NatCon in
yeah,
Dallas, like I
in
drove from
Dallas.
Atlanta. Why? I don't know. It was like a 13, 14 hour drive with stops and all that stuff. But like I did it. I made it just because like I
Yep.
can sit there, I can have a couple energy drinks and open a new note on my phone and just like voice to text over my phone. And then I get there and I'm reading and I'm like, all right, none of these make sense, but I understand what I was trying to say. And then I can hold my thoughts, like be alone for a little bit. So
Oh, not bad, but right, we go down. It was a great visit down there with Tony, and something that stuck out to me, and even talking to him, right? Like Tony's a brainiac when it comes to these numbers, especially for the combine. He's like, this split doesn't make sense for you to be able to run this, and some of the stories he talked to us about and everything. But what it made the most, or I guess like leaving there, right? They do some cool stuff, but leaving after talking to them, something that stuck out is the standards that they operate in everything, especially in their timing. Because, and I understand, right? It has to be super detailed with what they do because they're having conversations with kids and agents and scouts and teams and that's what their business is built on, right? Their business during that time of year is like, no, we have to be extremely honest in what we're talking about. And so they have to understand these standards. But I thought that was an important thing of that you can apply anywhere. It doesn't have to be necessarily with the splits and the 40 and the vertical and the broad and all that, but like whatever you deem as a KPI in your program, you need to fully understand it, and there also needs to be some sort of standard that is applied to that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think in the combine world, the phrase under promise and over deliver would be something like you would want to do. But in all actuality, like, and just in conversation with Tony, like y- yes, that's understandable. And I'm sure that to an extent, that's some of the industry does that, but that hurts you too. Like we want to be
Mhm,
precise in we want to be precise in our growth. We want to be precise in our projections because, on the flip side of things, like they're having on the back end having conversations with agents. Agents are having
Mhm.
conversations with teams. Like, this is what these guys are going to do. And then if they go out, even if they overperform, it's like, well, I thought you said he was going to do this, and then he went and did this. It
Mhm.
sounds like you're underselling your guy. Like, do you not have confidence in it? Was there something that you're not telling us about it? Like,
Yeah.
almost like the nth degree of being thorough, but it
Mhm.
can also come back to bite you in the butt. So like
Yeah.
having those standards and those being precise in your predictions and how you do things
Mhm.
day over day over day, having those standards in everything you do is what allows him to be, him and Matt and all of the team down there, like allows them to be as precise as they are,
Mhm.
and come out on top of things. So, um, yeah, I think when it comes to standards, like not only is it important to have them, not only is it important uh, to, to run with them, but I think the importance of, and I can't remember, who it was at the Kansas clinic, the University of Kansas clinic that they just
Yeah.
had this weekend.
Which was
Um,
evidently a banger.
yeah, Donnell posted a story and it said you have to inspect what you expect. And that's been hitting me like all week long. And
Mhm.
then it comes up in our conversations like, all right, yeah, having standards are a good thing and saying these are our standards, but to what level are we having those conversations? To what level are
Mhm.
we making sure and inspecting that our expectations are actually getting done? That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. And and we see it probably a lot more than maybe some others, just being in the high school world more. And I understand like everybody, they should, but I also understand like everybody doesn't have a full-time strength coach. Everybody doesn't have somebody like this is their jam, right? And like even in your space, right? You have to coach football and do the strength side of it, and you're coaching track, and and so there's a lot going on. But we see it a ton with like, even just movement standards. And we see this time of year, right? Everybody's finishing up their first block. Everybody's like, we got to get PR numbers right now before we get to spring break, before whatever phase they're transitioning into. But we see maybe the lack of standards across the high school field probably more than anywhere else, especially when we're calling stuff PRs and records and everything else. You would think at minimum there'd be a standard for what the PR is.
Mm. I think
And
like lowest hanging fruit, like just straight up honest. And I don't know what our viewership looks like, but if
yeah,
this one,
all
if
the
this one ends
people.
up, yeah, if this one ends up going viral, like I'll just clip that, just send the number to me so I can show Ashley for that trash talk she said a couple weeks ago. But at the minimum, I think the vast majority of people can agree that have been around for at least a second in the game can understand that
Mhm.
spotting front squats from the front, like elbow
Yeah,
pulling
let's
up on
get on it.
elbows and the
Yeah,
cleans are terrible
yeah,
idea. I remember a couple years back, like, and I don't even know if they're still active, but do you remember the page Gym Fails?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they posted a video. This dude was cleaning, and a guy behind him was spotting him, and it fell backwards.
Mhm.
And the guy tried to catch him, and then they both fell
Yep,
backwards, and
and
both
then they
got
both
trapped under
fell.
the bar.
Yep.
Like every Olympic lifting course, whether it's USAW or whether it's just like a local coach, like, if you can't get it, we're not going to chase it because of everything to do with the wrist and the
Yep.
forearm. We're going to dump the bar. I'm going to move backwards. That bar's going forward. I'm going backwards, and we're going to live to fight
We're
another
done.
day. And
Yep.
we're healthy. And hey, if you really are convicted that you're going to get it, cool. Try again in 2 minutes. But let's not
Mhm.
spot the front squat, and like let's not help the athlete stay in a front rack position
Yeah.
from an extra uh support perspective, and let's
Yeah.
not do the same thing on the front on the clean. Those
The
are
clean's a
terrible
wild
ideas.
one because it's so dynamic, right? Like, there's a lot that can go wrong, and like you have to time that up really well. And if that kid bails, right, and you're the coach, and your shin is sitting underneath the bar, like, all right, big dog, you better buckle up because like that's going to be a problem if he misses. And so, yeah, and it's stuff like that of like where, yeah, like those two are great examples, right? Because like part of what you're trying to get out of those movements is the ability to keep your torso vertical, like get that extension. And that's a lot of times why people want to front squat over back squat, right? Because if you think through it, you have the ability to dump it. Like it doesn't. I think
Mhm.
there's a time and place to like spot at the bar. If we're like grinding through a rep, whatever, like do your thing. But spotting from the front and like forcing a kid's elbows up and then calling it a PR. It was like a couple weeks ago. I put something out of one of our kids and he was smoking some weight. And it was a plus set and I wanted volume out of it. Like, oh, he's not sitting low enough, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're not setting a
Okay.
PR today. I'm not readjusting anything, being like, cool, he just hit 460 for 9. Yeah, I'm gonna adjust his max off of that.
Like
Like, man, get out of my face.
600.
Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, man, we're trying to get some volume going. Like, I'm trying to get his legs rolling. It like don't, but then you fast forward a month and everybody's PRing on squat or bench press, right? Some of my kids were talking about it today. They saw some video and the dude spotting the squat was probably getting more of a workout than the dude actually with the bar on his back, like veins popping out of his neck. And the my telltale sign of when somebody's pulling way too much is when they have to adjust their feet. If you're spotting a squat and you see the foot adjustment, you're like, oh, you're having to get into it right now.
Yeah. Or the spotting of the bench and the spotter's hands are like knuckles are white.
Like
You're like,
white knuckling
"You're
it.
pulling. You're pulling. It's all you, bro."
Yeah. No, that's the best, right? Gives it nah, I barely helped. And that
Yeah.
but that's why I don't know how you are with it, but like on bench press, especially when it starts to get heavy, like not relatively heavy, like absolute load heavy. Like I want to spot our kids on that,
Yes.
right? Because I want to understand. Like I'll let kids spot themselves and everything, but at a certain point when it gets heavy, I do want to understand and be in control of the bar. That way, if something goes wrong, one, I'm behind it and I can get the bar off of them. Because right at this point, we have spotted thousands and
Mhm.
thousands of reps in our career. But two, I want to understand how much help he was actually getting. If we're going to say, this kid set a PR and he's getting recruited by all these schools, like that needs to be an actual PR. It doesn't need to be his buddy, like grinded through 2 reps, white knuckling it with that. When we have the responsibility to the coaches to
Yeah.
say, like, no, this is a real PR.
And on top of that too, like when I step up to squatter or spotter kids, like our kids kind of get a little bit more confidence in it, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, he's got me. We're good. It doesn't matter. Like if I fail, cool. We're together. We're gonna be fine.
Yep.
Um, and it's those little things that I think from a confidence perspective matter a lot to the athlete, right? Like when we're lifting, if we're bench pressing and we get the kid gets, I don't know, 315, right? Those are big boy numbers, right? They can
Yeah.
perform well. Like, not that the bench has everything to do with football, but like there's a confidence perspective there that
Still
when
got to
you're a
be
teenage
strong. Yeah.
boy, that's really, really important. But then
Hmm.
if you can bench 315 with nobody touching the bar, or like, I don't know, 350, but you've got some people either like hands on the bar or whatever the case may be, like however we're spotting, um, you know, I know for a fact if I was doing 315, I can enter competition knowing like I did these things. I can rest
Yeah.
on the work that I've done, knowing that that work is good.
Hmm.
Whereas, all right, well, maybe I did 350, but at the end of the day, like, was it all me? I don't know. That question mark's
Yeah.
still in the back
I
of my
don't,
head.
yep.
Like, they're
Yep.
touching it. How much are they helping? Like, and it may be 5 pounds, but at the end of the day, like, was it
Hmm.
five or was it 20?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
We don't know.
And that's like, it's stuff like that where, numbers get skewed to these college coaches too, because there isn't a set. And I understand, like, right, I'm in Madison, Mississippi, you're in Cartersville, Georgia. Like, it's not math, right? It's not saying like this is the Pythagorean theorem all the time. This is right. It's not that, but there should be a level of confidence that coaches come in and they're like, I know this is a real number because of the standards this program operates in. And they should understand, hey, if I say a kid hit a squat and whatever his number is, I should have faith that he's telling the truth. But the problem is you have all these people floating around that don't hold a movement standard and then are like, we had 6 kids squat over 500 pounds, and be like, "Hey, you should probably win a lot of football games. Like,
Yeah.
line that thing up and run behind them and let's go." But then
Well,
it's
yeah.
also the kids that are sitting there and you're like, "Oh, you can't move because you never move through a full range of motion." Like, that makes more sense.
Yeah. We had a couple years back at a previous school, we had a Power 5 offensive coordinator come look at one of our running backs, and we're sitting there talking, and, this coach hadn't been in, but one of his other coaches had been in, and he goes, "Yeah, Coach so and so said that this kid squats. You told him this kid squats 530." I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Coach, there's no way." I said, I promise you." He goes, "He doesn't do it well." I was like, "Uh, you're gonna see him lift today." So literally in that lift, like we changed things up. It was luckily like it was a squat day, but I'm like, all right, cool. We'll tweak the percentages a little bit. And I told the kid like, hey, we're gonna let it ride today a little bit. So he had put 90% on the bar, and he is smoking. We're using VBT, and he is smoking this thing. And I think he hits like, I think it ended up being like 475 for a set of three at
Yes.
like point
Yes.
5, and just
Rolling.
bars just whip it like smoked, and racks it. Everybody's going nuts. And I walk over and coach goes, "Yeah, you're right. He probably can squat that." I was like, "Yeah, I know he can."
Yeah.
But he took that number back and talked to his strength coach, and they're like, "He moved it at what?"
Yeah.
So that was the best part, was the follow up call of it, knowing that like full range of motion, solid squat. Showed him he took a video of it and sent it back,
Mhm.
and it all checked the boxes. And so like that kind of stuff is validation for me as a coach. Like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, we can back it up. Like, it wasn't in the plan today, but I know for a fact we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the one, and, just the way my brain organizes, the one that always gets me is the fly numbers this time of year especially. And, like, nobody wants to talk about the surfaces they run on, but everybody's like, "Oh, we had this kid run a whatever,
23 mile an
.86."
hour.
Yeah, I'm like, "What are we talking?" Because right, you hear it and you're like, you just operate out of the context you do. Like, we run all of our flies on turf,
Mhm.
and I'm like, you see a 8.6 pop up, you're like, "God dang, like,
Good
that
Lord,
is
we're slow.
rolling."
Why do I coach?
Yeah, I'm like, "What are we doing?" Like, I need to rethink what I'm doing. And then, right, they post a video of it a week later, and it's like on tile flooring inside, and I'm like, "Oh, that makes way more sense." Like,
Yeah, the surfaces, the best is when they're spiked up on a track, and
yeah.
then like even and Ronnie and I have talked about this. This is something that he did at a previous school. He would alternate or like manipulate where the lasers are. So
Mhm,
yes, it looks like they're 10 yards, but like the start lasers on the back side of the line, the end
mhm.
lasers on the front side of the line,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they had to stay behind the line up there, so it's an extra like 6 inches of a lead in, and you're
Right.
only running 6 inches less of our sprint. So like it's
Yeah.
not a major difference, right? It's like
No.
point oh 0.03, point oh 0.04, depending on your
Yeah.
strides. But at the end of the day, like a PR is a PR. So if you just
Mhm,
smoke a PR, but then he's like, I'm just writing these numbers down. I'm not going to enter them in the Google sheet or the program
mm-mm.
or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a confidence boost. So like you can
Yeah,
manipulate those things on purpose to boost your numbers. And like
for sure.
even knowing that, it's like part of that is a weight, because it's like, all right, I got to make sure that everything is set up the exact same every single
Mhm.
time from my perspective, because I'm like, I got to make sure that I can trust myself and trust my numbers and trust what I'm reading
Yeah.
from the play from this
Uh,
for months and however long I'm going to look at these numbers.
mhm. Yeah, and it's like like what you were talking about is like the bad side of that, right? Is because I think everybody to a point does that, and we are like, "Hey, I just need us feeling good today. We're gonna adjust it," but we're not marking that down. But then you have these combines or these whatever camps people are going to, and the one I told y'all about, right? Like a 6 inch behind the laser, like, I got you. Cool, no big deal, right? It's just it makes the start easier, the end beam, I got it. But then it being in front of the 40-yard mark to finish is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, and not by like a couple inches, by like a yard.
Hmm.
And then we're like, oh, they ran a 4.51. Like, no, get out of my face. Like, no, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, those things probably frustrate me more than like the data we see pop up
Mhm.
from high schools. It's because I'm like, kids are getting recruited off of this, and you're sitting there saying like, "Yeah, he ran a 4.2." I'm like, "No, he didn't run a 4.2. Like, let's line it up. I, I have Vol gates. I'm like, we'll put them in the beam, and we'll make sure it's set out. Because if when we run 40s, I want coaches to know like I got this thing down as close as I can possibly get it without error,
Mhm.
take out as much error as I can. But then these camps, right, they're pumping people up. And it's just some dude that pulled out a stopwatch timing for the first time.
Yeah.
And just like it blows my mind because then coaches are like, no, he's not fast enough. I'm like, he is a 4.55. Like, what are you talking about? He's not fast enough. Oh,
The
well,
best
this
is
kid
when
ran a 4.3.
absolute the best is the videos that they post. My favorite thing to do is screen record them and then use the
Mm-hmm.
trim tool on your phone, and then it tells you how fast it is at the very end. And it's
Yeah.
like you posted 4.35 and this has you at like a 4.62.
Yeah.
And I remember I did that one time and I saw the start laser was on the 1 yard, right? And so like, okay, you're running a 1 yard lead in. The end laser should be on the 41. The end laser was on the 40.
Yep.
So you're
So you're
really
running a
timing
39-yard
39
dash.
yards. Yeah, and it's a 39-yard fly with a 1 yard lead in.
Right.
Those are not the same, but the difference is coaches, like, there's a lot of people out there that still don't understand, oh, we're calling it a 40-yard dash, but we're not even running 40 yards. Like
No.
that stuff actually matters when it comes to, like you said, the times of getting recruited, the times of even like what's going on, and then you still have all the debate when it comes to like the NFL Combine and all that stuff. So it's like we
Yep.
wonder why all of these conversations, no one can agree on things. It's because there's no standard across the board of this is what we should do. And if I
Yep.
understand, yeah, give them a 1 yard fly. I say less of a reason from like a true starting perspective and more of like it's easier for me to time.
Mhm.
Like there's
Mhm.
way fewer missed reps. There's way a lot of things, but like let's have at least like a standard of operation of understanding at least when we're reporting those times as 1 yard fly.
Yep. Yeah, like, just in what you do, right? Just at least be honest, consistent, whatever you wanna call it. And if you're gonna run it on the track in spikes, cool, but, like, then you're like, you need to run all of your flies in spikes on the track, so then even your in-house data is the same.
Mhm.
Because that ultimately, right, is your in-house data is what matters for training purposes, and you need to have that consistent training data to pull from. You can't bounce and be like, all right, well, I'm going to record all of it, but I'm not going to take in like flooring. I'm not going to take in shoes. I'm not going to take in whatever variable is there. But you're saying I'm going to just record it all and it'll kind of wash out. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, it's not actually giving you anything at that point. There's too much variation in when how you're training it.
And for some coaches, like if you don't know what we're talking about when it comes to like this, why the surface itself actually matters, the harder the surface, so running on turf, when your foot strikes the ground, there's a give. It's a
Hmm.
softer surface. So you're losing a lot of the force, you're losing a lot of the tension and the power, the impulse, the ground reaction forces that you can actually put into the ground, which causes longer ground contacts. And that combination of the both is think of it like a power leak, but you're leaking time. So
Hmm.
you're losing surface there. But then you go run on a hard that same day, switch the shoes, go run on the floor outside the weight room, that hard tile floor. You're gonna have a lot stiffer floor, so those ground reaction forces are pushing back against the foot, and then you can actually translate a lot more of that force into the ground, back into you, and push off the floor harder, making your times faster.
Yeah.
Go run on a wood floor on the basketball floor. It's still harder than turf, but there's some give. They put
There's a
some
lot more
bounce in
give.
there
Yep.
on purpose. But then you go run on the track, spiked up, right? Things change drastically because you've got now this dynamic surface that's specifically engineered and specifically built to make kids fast.
Yep.
And you put them in spikes where they can actually grip the floor and in a
Mm.
shoe that makes them strike in a specific place to where it decreases the ability for that foot, that heel to drop. Like there's a lot of factors there that go into the time. So like you may like listeners may be sitting there like, why does this stuff matter? These guys are just complaining about, nothing that really matters. Like that stuff actually drastically changes the times of what we're doing. I've got a
Yep.
kid, an eighth grader that runs a 5 yard fly 10 and he's run a 107 on hard floor.
Which is crazy.
That's not a 107. Like, like he cannot beat our kid that just went to Auburn in a race, even though that kid had like a 114 on turf. Like that
Which
kid is
is
stupid fast.
stupid.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's what he's known for. So like it tracks. Those two things are
Yep.
not the same. And we have to be intelligent enough to be able to at least just understand that. And I got to prep the kid that
Yep.
says, "Hey, you're going from our 8th grade training where we don't have access to turf.
Hmm.
This summer you're going to a training environment at our high school where you're going to be sprinting on turf. Your times are not going to be that. You didn't get
Yeah.
magically get slower. It's the floor, it's the surface you're sprinting on."
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's like that's why we have Dr. Dan on the podcast is to talk about stuff like that
to
because
to get
it
down
does.
rabbit holes.
And I understand like it probably can come off of just like, oh, you're complaining because your kids aren't fast. And it's like, no, there just needs to be a transparency of what we're doing or why we do it. Why are we inside right now? And then right inside, I would think, like I said, we run all of ours on turf. Like if we're gonna run flies, I'm taking on the turf because I want to see. That's where I want to see it. Uh, but if we are for whatever reason, let's say like I don't know, because it would never happen, but some crazy thing happened and they were like, "Hey, you can run in the hallways today." Uh, because we don't have like this weight room hallway. It's like as soon as you leave, it is classroom hallway.
Mm.
And and they said run on you can run inside. I'd be like, "That's cool, but it goes against all the other data I have. So I can't say because every kid would hit a PR
Mhm.
based on what we do, and they probably hit a PR by I don't know, like 0.09, like to like
It'd be a
one
lot.
two something like that.
It'd
Yeah,
be
it'd
a
be a
lot.
ton. And so, like you said, you have a middle school kid running 107, and you're like, if 107 on a turf is a lot different than 107 on tile floors.
Especially at a 5 yard lead in. Like,
Yeah, like
and then
that's
you throw into
stupid.
effect, then you start to think about the system that people are using for timing. And this would be a
Yeah,
great conversation if we ever get Stokowski on here because he's a complete and total nerd on this. But
no, we'll just let him
um,
go.
yeah,
We'll
that's
just
a that's
prompt
a
him up and just
that's a
let him
name
go.
drop and saying like now he's got to come on. Um,
Yeah,
but like one of his things, and because he has multiple timers and he has multiple systems, and he likes to set them all up the exact same, and like just I wonder which one's faster today.
yeah,
But like we just switched over systems, and I had to preface everybody before we even test them like, hey, I just want to
yeah,
let everybody know your vertical jumps are about to go down and your times are about to
yep,
go up. Not because you got slower, all right, but because we went from a
hmm,
just jump mat to this new system, and they are not the same thing. You don't actually
yeah,
jump 35 inches, and I
mm-mm.
don't want you to think that you actually do. So,
Yeah, yeah. But that's like to the point that we probably keep beating is like that's why it's important. It's
mm,
important to understand even as a coach of like what system you're using. Like we had the same conversation when we went from Broward to Vald. And I was like, hey guys, like we just have to adjust a little bit of like we got to get the norms for what this is, but be expected to be a little bit slower here. And the best one is like the force deck, right?
oh
When you
yeah,
get somebody jumping on a force deck on with like
I jumped
without hands on
17.
hips. Yeah. And they're like, I don't jump a 17-inch vertical. And I'm like, I didn't say you did. This is a completely different jump. You especially your bouncy kids, right? Your
Mm,
kids that are 32, 33 plus, and they're like, Coach, I don't jump a 17. I'm like, I didn't say you did,
mm.
but this test says you did. So
Yeah.
like it's not bad. It's just we have to understand the testing parameters and everything of and I'm sure you've done this a lot more, like going through your research and stuff, but like there is a point where everything has to be pretty specific in how you do it. Even uh last weekend I was in Dallas at Volcon and one of the people they talked about or one of the people that presented was uh a professor in the applied health and sports science department. But she said they're like number one, day one thing they talk about with interns is like their standard operating procedures of testing. And they have like booklets down to like how to turn on the units, what direction the force decks need to be. And they just have these like very, very specific things that they want to see in testing. And I understand when it's one of us and we don't have a staff of 8 to get it done. Like you said, like the timing thing, like, but we can be as good as we can. Like maybe I'm an inch off here or there. That is what it is. Like that's the human error part. But like I'm gonna do my best to make sure I'm limiting how often I'm missing, if that makes sense. Especially I'm not gonna miss by a yard.
Yeah.
That one blows my mind. I'm not gonna miss by a full yard, I promise.
That's right. But it just goes back to standards, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever we expect of our kids, I am meticulous with how I set up our testing stuff,
Hmm.
not because like not because of a research background or any of that stuff, but simply because I want I want a stable environment
Hmm.
every single time we jump or sprint so that our kids know
Yep.
from the jump that what I'm telling them is legit. I'm not
Yeah, it's real.
padding numbers. I'm not manipulating anything. That like we can have a conversation and we can dig into why your jumps are going down or we can dig
Yeah.
into why your sprints are increasing. And I want our kids to know that. But like
Yeah.
we have to like the picture that Danelle posted. Like we have to inspect what we expect, whether
Yep.
we're talking about a squat or a bench or a clean, we're talking about a sprint. It doesn't matter what it is because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if we're saying our standards are this, but we're allowing things that are substandard to kind of populate our
Hmm.
culture of our team or our program, then like we'll go to the standards anyway. You know.
Yeah. And it hurts. Not hurts us, but like we said earlier with like kids recruiting, they go to these camps and it just is what like we've been in, it's GA's timing it with a stopwatch. These universities and these colleges have lasers. Like bump the lasers out there and let's go. But instead it's we're gonna hand you a different color shirt. And if I want you to be fast today, you're gonna be fast. That way you stay high on our board. And like that stuff just kills me because again, kids recruiting chances, even if they're good enough, get smashed. And I whether it's a good idea or not, I tell our kids, I'm like, if you aren't feeling great, do not run your 40 because that is the fastest way to get dropped off of somebody's recruiting board is for you to go up there and you're wearing the shirt everybody else is because you weren't on their board before, and then you go out there and pop a bad 40 time. Whether it's a good reason or not, like you're gonna get bumped off the board. And I'm like, you need to be feeling great to
Mm.
go run a 40 at one of these college camps.
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation I was having with a kid today. Like, we've got a kid that has an offer at a ton of schools, and he goes and does bunch of combines, bunch of extra stuff on the
Hmm.
weekends, and you
Yeah.
know, unbelievably fast kid, talented kid, great kid, loves to compete. And I know at the heart of it, like that's why he does it because he wants to compete and
Yeah.
prove, like, yeah, I'm the best. But like, there's nothing good that can come from going to those combines.
Yep.
Like, you have an offer from multiple SEC schools, multiple Power Five or Power Four schools. Like, you
Hmm.
have nothing left to gain from going and doing these things. So it's like
Yeah.
part of me understands like, yeah, you want to compete because you're a dog and that's part of who you are and that's what makes you
Yeah.
that level. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, like you don't have to prove anything because of what you're putting up. So like let that
Yeah.
ride. And to an extent, some of it's like, all right, well, how much of it is a money grab? How much of it is all of that stuff? And that's a whole nother conversation that we'd
Yeah.
be here for hours if we talked about. But
Yeah. And it is tough. And like the standards thing, it'd be if there was a way that it's impossible, I get it. But if there was a way that was a standardized 40, this is how we do it, then we wouldn't need to run 40s at camps. And that's what
yeah,
I like try to tell our kids is I was like, I will send your like when we run 40s, especially if it's a test, we don't do it very often. We do it like once a year, maybe. Um, but like we turn on our huddle cam, I put the lasers up, we run it on our huddle cam. I was like, I can send them a video of you running a 40 if that's what they need.
hmm
And like I have the laser time, I can get your miles per hour, I can get whatever they need, I can send it to them. But if you go up there and you run a 40 in front of them, and no matter who timed it, and you pop out as a receiver on a 4.7, like you are off the board. Doesn't matter how good you play, you are off the board because they're always going to remember that kid wasn't fast enough. But
Hmm.
until we can like standardize, even like you probably talk to more of them, but like talking to college coaches and like trying to understand what they want to see in recruiting is tough. And some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them are like, man, 40s are so unreliable. Like, what's cool is I've started having conversations of like, what's his in game mile per hour? Because whether they know what that means or not, all of them know if you hit plus 20 in a game, like you pretty fast. Like you can go.
Yeah, we had a kid, and it was a fun conversation. We had a kid that his top speed was pretty good. He was like 20. It was 21 in game, I think, or like 21.3 or something like that.
Mhm.
Pretty solid, pretty respectable. But what made this kid is like really special is his ability to accelerate. I said
Mhm.
all of that stuff's really, really cool, but what makes this kid special is the fact that he can get to 19 mile an hour in 12 yards.
Yeah.
So like
Which is
that's why
nuts.
you are recruiting this kid. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Why do you say that? And being able to explain that. And I think
Mhm.
um, college coaches like that I talk to are starting to understand what that stuff means and how it applies to their position groups way more than they ever have in the past, which is a
Yep.
huge positive. And the proliferation of GPS down into the high school realm, I think, has only made that
Huge.
way better
Yep.
because now I can give you a mile per hour height and a weight,
Mhm.
and you have film, and now you know where this kid actually stacks up it
Yep.
against guys that are in your locker room right now. So that's the stuff that matters, and that's the stuff
Mhm.
that really I think is the direction that this stuff is starting to shift in, which is in my opinion, a huge plus.
It's a huge one. And I mean, I had a similar conversation a few weeks ago. We had a kid and the coach wanted his speed numbers. I'm like, I got all our flies I can give you. I can give you any range on a fly. I got you. And then I was like, I have his in game mile per hour stuff. And so I sent it to him and he was like
I'll take that.
21.2 in game. And he was like, I don't know what those fly numbers mean, but I know 21 in a game is fast. And I was like,
Yes. We had a
yeah,
coach one year.
yeah.
We had a
So,
coach come in recruiting a running back a couple years ago for a previous school I was at, and he's like, "Hey, what is his GPS stuff? I know you guys have GPS." I was like, "Yeah, he's around this, 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 and this." He's like, "No." So I literally pulled it up on the platform. I said, "Coach, right there," and then I showed him, and he calls the running back coach, and he goes, Coach, if this kid is this height, this weight, and he's ran this mile per hour on GPS, I'm looking at it right now. Where does he stack up? He's like, he's second best in our locker room physically, like when it comes to
yeah.
running backs.
Yep.
He's 18. Like, cool.
Yeah.
He's got an offer. So
Yeah.
like
He's got it.
literally little things like that were
Hmm.
phenomenal. And it's really, really cool to see the way it's come.
Yeah. And that's where, when you talk about standards, that GPS trickling down into high school, maybe the way that that gets fixed a little bit in the speed world is everybody's going to have a couple units, right? They're not nearly as expensive as they used to be. They're really affordable, like unit to unit. Even if you can't buy 30 of them, 40 of them, whatever, you buy three or four to put on your guys that are going to be recruited, that are people are
Mhm.
going to look at. And maybe that's the way this speed thing kind of uh, starts to work itself out, right? Is, hey, you ain't fudging these numbers, not in game. You can fudge them probably a little bit, but or if your kids are idiots and forget to turn them off and take them in their car, and then you're like, "Hey, I need you to not go 102 miles an hour down the road." Like that we need to stop doing that. And they're like, "Oh." But
Shameless plug, unless you're going to the University of Georgia.
oh,
As a Bulldog fan, I'm sorry. I couldn't let that one go. It was too easy.
yeah, yeah, that they got to figure that out. But the God, the but yeah, so right? Like we talked about standards in training. We got to find like at least your in-house data. It has to be comparable to last year's. No matter what exercise it is, we need to cut out the chin spotting on deadlifts and the elbow spotting on cleans. The chin spotting is a wild one.
Yeah.
Like that one is a I've I don't that's a weird one. I've never
I've
seen.
never seen it.
I haven't been in
Never
when I was
seen it.
playing, but that is a new one that's popped up this year for some reason. And the chin spot is a you've done a lot of deadlifting and squatting over the years, and
Never seen that one.
I don't know if you've ever been chin spotted by somebody.
I swear, if I'm deadlifting and some dude or anybody touches my chin, I'm dropping the bar and I'm ready to fight. Like at that moment, like
In the middle of the
I,
rep.
yeah,
Like,
screw it doesn't matter what I'm like. I could be going for an all-time PR, like
world
a
record.
deadlift and a money meet. It doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
you touch my chin, we're fighting.
It's like the equivalent of somebody coming up and like tickling you in the middle of it. Like,
Yeah, I'm good. Nah, no, I'm ready to fight. Let's go.
uh, yeah. And I think Dan is working on this for Kleros though, to have a way that you spot. And so if you're a chin spotter, you mark that, and maybe that's a feature we can get added in on
That
Kleros.
I'm sorry, that one. I don't care how many coaches you said. You're gonna have to go to a different platform for that one. I will never put
but
that in there.
but I appreciate y'all. Episode 6, we will get this released soon. We still got weekly briefs coming. We got some pretty good guests lined up, which I'm fired up about selfishly. So we'll get that announced here soon. But the again, just a reminder, Kleros is huge for us. Great platform that Dan's building, and then our partnership with Nuke Hydration. Remember, staff meeting 10 gets you a discount on your first case. I've had it. I drank my whole case, and so I need to get another case so I can send to Dan. But it's awesome. It's good stuff. Hopefully, what I'm gonna try to do is get Marty on here maybe next week, and we can have a Nuke episode, kind of introducing what they do and kind of how I found it. Because when you sit down and talk to them, is a super cool story, and then how it's growing right now is awesome. So, just be on the lookout for that stuff. Like I said, some guests lined up in the next couple weeks. I'm pretty fired up about. Selfishly, people I've wanted to talk to, and really the reason we started this podcast is so we can have an excuse to talk to people we want to talk to in the performance world. So, Dan, you got anything to close out with?
Nah, man, don't spot the cleans and don't touch people's chins.
Don't touch people's chins. All right. On that note, we'll yell at y'all. Appreciate y'all listening. What's up, everybody? We're super fired up to announce our new partnership with Nuke Hydration, something that was born super organically as a sports drink. Just trying to find something that actually fuels training really well outside of just pumping our bodies full of sugar. And so it's organic lime juice, coconut water, some Celtic sea salt, all put into this package that is unreal. And so we're super fired up to be partnering with them and them helping us out with the podcast. There is going to be a promo code listed in the notes. Go ahead, grab that, scoop up your first case of Nuke. Go ahead, get it delivered to you. It's a great company, born with really, really good intention. So we're fired up to be partnering with them.